everybody, or might be some of you might be a little earlier or later than me. Hope everybody had their coffee and having a great Wednesday. So thank you for spending a little bit of your time today with me this morning. Of course, today's webinar is really about LinkedIn monitoring. So some of you might find this a little bit familiar, but the whole agenda of the webinar is so that you can find some inspiration and then perhaps kind of expand some of the use cases on Digimind itself. So for LinkedIn monitoring, today's focus is really about brand reputation. Um, a little bit more about our agenda today. So to first introduce myself, I am Zina. I'm an account manager here. I think some of you guys might actually know me because I am your account manager on your project. If not, you'll be working together with Nina, who's the other account manager here out of Digimind APAC. So today's webinar is about 30 minutes. We'll go through a little bit about why LinkedIn, what's its relevance to kind of us, how Digimind can successfully help you with any projects that you want around LinkedIn. We will share also a little bit about use cases that we have with existing clients like yourself. And then we'll do a little demo on the platform in terms of, just a peek into how we do it on the back end before moving into the Q&A. So that will take about 30 minutes. We'll have a little bit of time at the end for questions, anything at all throughout the presentation that I'll be bringing you through. Please also put any of your questions into the chat box. I think you guys can see on the control panel, it should be on your right, and I'll get to them at the end of the session. So just to go into the slides now. So why is LinkedIn relevant? When we think about LinkedIn, it is the professional network that everybody uses. You foundationally use it as a way to find jobs. You use it to a way to research about companies that you might be interested in. Now, as a brand, actually almost 50% of your social traffic actually for B2B companies come from LinkedIn, which is 1 out of 2 every leads that you get, which is amazing and also very scary because it's a big part of what you need to invest in. Another component of it is that there's almost 900 million users on the LinkedIn platform, and actually 65 million of them are management or essentially opinion leaders of the various industries. So very important people that we are looking at. And the demographic that we're looking at is actually 60% made up of millennials, so like myself. A lot of us are moving from the age of being an executive to middle management to upper management throughout the years. And that's what we use LinkedIn for. So if you think about it, there's just this wealth of information on LinkedIn that we really need to tap into. And this is why Digimind has such a big focus on it. And what we can do as the social listening platform is a couple of ways that we can set you up for success. So I think when we first launched LinkedIn monitoring, I think it's about a year and a half ago now. When we first launched it, we were actually the first in the social media listening industry to do it. And our capabilities back then were to start monitoring via keywords and hashtags. So you'll realize that it's similar to the way that we do it for your queries. So I'm sure people on the call know what they are. Essentially, the baseline of all your projects are the queries. So what you are tracking, the brands, the topics, whatsoever. So we were starting at that point, and then we moved into account monitoring. So we wanted to expand the way that we monitor so that everybody has a 360 view of what they are looking at. So when you think about it, it's keywords and hashtags. So people, for example, in a brand reputation example, you might be tracking your own brand, but you also want to track what your competitors are saying. So you are able to do both at the same time, and it's very comprehensive view of all the data that is on Digimind. We also moved a little bit more into analytics. So some of you guys might have this activated on your platform. Some of you guys may not. But again, of course, if you're interested, please reach out to your account manager, be it me or Nina. The analytics component essentially is to help you understand a lot of the engagement that you might have. So for example, if you think about LinkedIn campaigns that you have, social events, how people are reacting to it, the analytics module is the one for you because it's able to give you a breakdown the day you post, and how long that campaign is active for. So you're able to see all of that, the reach, the likes, the comments, everything. And then moving a little bit more into historical data. So I think everybody knows that queries are forward-looking, right? What you're anticipating and what you want to track moving forward. Now, a lot of times, a lot of brands come to us and they're like, hey, we really need historical data, especially for agencies, because a lot of their end clients are asking for comparative studies. So where do we stand in terms of brand reputation 2 years ago compared to now? So the good thing is that for all clients who have a project with us, you are given 30 days of historical data called historical search, so DHS for short, on your platform. Now, we have expanded our capabilities as Digimind believes very strongly in R&D. So I think just in fall, so I want to say October or November last year, we've rolled out also TikTok and LinkedIn data on DHS. Now, the only difference that we will see depending on the type of DHS you have activated on your platform is that for those with the paid version, you'll get almost 2 years into the past of data. So we will go through that in a little bit on the demo itself on the platform. So that's kind of where we are at in terms of LinkedIn monitoring. As you can see, Digimind, really lots of ways you can go about it, a lot of ways that you can optimize. So if you see any gaps that are in your current project that you are interested in based on kind of the bullets that we have on the slide, please let us know. And then we can help you with it on your specific projects. Now, moving beyond brand reputation. So I think with all new clients, usually our advice is to always look at yourself first, because that's the most important. You need to know where you stand, you need to know what people think about you. So we always start from the left, so that's the brand reputation. For specifically about LinkedIn, we actually use it to analyze publications to help understand what consumers feel. We also recommend it in terms of how you want to manage your employer branding. So how do people feel about you? Do they want to be employed by you? So things like that falls under the brand reputation kind of feature or use case. Now, moving forward for projects that are maturing, so we would recommend clients to really move into benchmarking against their competitors. So this is where we'll move into competitive intelligence. So it ties in very closely with trend innovation. So why I say that is because, for example, B2B companies, a lot of them are very sensitive to the industry and what their consumers are talking about on LinkedIn. Specifically, I think more recently we see a lot of interest in sustainability. So how sustainable is the company and their activities are. We want to use LinkedIn as a tool to let us anticipate any threats, opportunities even, to kind of maneuver or pivot the direction that we take. So obviously now, we are in January. Most of us, that is when our new FY starts. So a lot of the budget planning goes into that. So we'll always advise our clients to take this time to kind of review the last year's performance, what people are talking about, insights that they have, and then kind of help themselves to really navigate that moving forward. So again, similarly, trend innovation, lots of things about, when we look at company pages, they might post a new product they've launched. Is it the first in the industry? Is it something completely new, or is it something we've seen before? Now, this is very important because at the end of the day, all companies and all brands want to be the first, right? That is what Digimind is hoping to help you move into that place. So it is very important, especially for B2B companies to do so. We move into a more kind of micro look when we talk about campaign analysis, so specific campaigns that you might run. So this can be marketing campaigns. It could also be social events that you want to boost on LinkedIn. So again, similarly to how campaign tracking or campaign analysis is done as a query, we also do it for LinkedIn as well. So again, you'll be able to see the metric for the reach, your engagement, your likes, your comments, and all of that. And finally, a little bit of crisis detection. So perhaps for teams such as the PR team or the corporate comms team, this might be useful for you guys. So obviously, I think a lot of times, again, Digimind is there as a tool to help you anticipate. We want to be able to give you the foresight into what people are saying, and we want you to be the first to hear it. That's why we have things like alerts in place to set a certain threshold. So if someone is talking about something, it's going viral very quickly, you are able to get an alert for it as soon as possible. Now, when we think about crisis detection, it's really about giving that ability of a buffer time for you to kind of think of what the response is to the particular incident that may have happened. So that is kind of what we can, and kind of five big areas that LinkedIn, that we can set up LinkedIn for you essentially. So beyond just brand reputation, again, I think Digimind really has a lot of flexible ways to kind of optimize itself to fit your specific use case that you might have. So yeah. Just a little bit about the specific client use case I spoke about a little bit earlier. So Société Générale is actually one of our clients over in Europe. So they are a French bank, and essentially they've been one of our longest clients now. And their project is quite focused on LinkedIn because obviously they are a bank. A bank is very focused on the B2B business over there, and they use Digimind to analyze their campaigns. So previously, when they first onboarded with us, they wanted to kind of be able to measure a lot of the successes of their social events on the platform. So essentially, we were able to set them up. The marketing team that we were working with, we were able to benchmark their successes and also use how well they did or not so well to kind of craft the strategy as they move forward. So essentially on Digimind, we were able to analyze, we could compare across campaigns. So when we think about campaigns, were there specific hashtags they were using, specific keywords they were using? And in that, they also managed to uncover new trends and kind of determine their success. So it's actually very exciting because you are able to tap into not just people who work for your brand, people who are interested, but as those posts and publications are shared on LinkedIn, you'll see that a lot of people are actually kind of like feeding into that data pool as well. And it really, help you determine whether it's successful or not, depending on what your use case is. And some of the key things that they were able to measure, so that includes sentiment analysis. So that is the baseline of all our brand reputation projects, how people feel about you, negative, positive, or just neutral. So we were able to do that. And then we also moved into kind of the engagement of the sponsored events that they held as a company. And then also the activities and what people feel of professionals. So when you think about professionals, you think about your C-suite, your management, industry leaders, and all of that. So that is where we kind of land in terms of the client use case that we have at the moment with an existing client like yourself. And then we go into an example. So I'm just going to go into the demo. So for today's demo, we're going to jump into the platform in a little bit. And we are going to use Starbucks as an example. So coffee, I hope everybody had their coffee this morning as well. So I'm just going to quickly change my tabs. Just give me one moment. All right, I believe everybody should be able to see a dashboard that I have at the moment. Okay. So yeah, so when you think about LinkedIn, it's set up the same way as all our queries. Usually that's where we start, and then we move forward, we will create a specific dashboard if we are looking at LinkedIn only. So this is what we imagine it will look like. So I think you guys can see on my screen. So just studying the brand reputation of Starbucks on LinkedIn, few things that we've actually noticed on Starbucks. There's a lot of strategic initiatives by Starbucks, so reputational risks that they want to be aware of, specific campaigns that they're looking at, and also CSR that has a huge focus on sustainability. So obviously, I think everybody knows that each dashboard can be kind of rejigged in the way that you want it to look. So obviously, all these squares that you see on the screen are modules. They can be moved around depending on how you want your reports to be seen. Now, I think for the first big one, when we talk about brand reputation, we want to see the volumes of LinkedIn posts mentioning Starbucks. So just looking at the past month or so, there's about 3K of people looking at it, 3.6K of mentions, and quite a number of social interactions, but not much of a fluctuation. Now you can see that there are a lot of mentions about LinkedIn on about Starbucks. So on the right, you're able to see, for example, people who are talking about Starbucks. As long as they have the word Starbucks in a keyword, it will appear on your platform. So it's very intuitive. I think most of you guys should be familiar with how LinkedIn or in general how our tracking works. And then we move into key concepts. So for example, if you're doing reports, it's very important to see what exactly people are talking in relation to your brand. So for example, what in this case, what people are saying in relation to Starbucks on LinkedIn. So some of these are on the left, and we go down a little bit into the hashtag. So obviously, one of the bigger things that people will use is Starbucks as a hashtag, and of course, coffee. So similarly, you will see similar trends on, pertaining to your own brand, depending what your company is. But we always advise clients to use this as a way to discover any trends that people might be associating to you that you may not have been aware of before. Of course, we have a lot of visualization tools. I think one of my favorites is a pie chart because it's simple and easy to read. So on the right, you are able to see the sustainability topic. So you can see that a lot of people are talking about how sustainable Starbucks is, because at the end of the day, it is quite a big company. You think about the coffee cups that they are using, how sustainable is that at the end of the kind of consumer line. So a lot of people are talking about it out of all the different topics that are in relation to CSR. Now, there is also reputation risk. So when we think about PR teams and CorpCom teams, like I mentioned earlier, this could be used as a way to discover mentions based on each topic that you are able to see. So right now, it seems like a big part of the topics that are being talked about is about regulation and the quality. So of course, I think Starbucks, some people might like it, some people might not like it, but of course, it is essential to understand all points of view, and that's what Digimind is for. And then on the right, so brand reputation, again, baseline of it, sentiment analysis. You can see that Starbucks actually has a really good sentiment. I guess most people like it and they don't. 91, so that's very close to 100, which is a perfect score for us. You'll see that a lot of it is positive comments. So 50% of it is positive comments. And the kind of the net sentiment trend, so throughout the last month, it's kind of been the same. So in general, Starbucks has, we can say that Starbucks has quite a strong brand reputation amongst consumers. So this is what we can gather from that particular module. Again, you can also see campaigns. So for example, if there are concurrent campaigns that you're running, you can see which campaign has a bigger share of voice in comparison to others and why. So many ways you can do it. Of course, also brand reputation can fall a little bit into competitive intelligence. So when you are benchmarking Starbucks to its direct competitors, so we think about Nespresso or even Coffee Bean, Lavazza, Dunkin' Donuts, etc. You can see that Starbucks itself taking a big chunk of it. So at the end of the day, I think they would feel quite confident that they have the biggest market share in that way. So again, it really sees, you can see on the right, there is the analytics module and how it's seen. So you can see out of everybody, Starbucks has almost 2.5 million fans in total across kind of LinkedIn essentially, and they have the most interaction. So it's really telling that they have something that's very strong, and this is what we usually see for brands that are a lot more mature. So things like Starbucks, like everybody knows what Starbucks is, but not necessarily Lavazza, for example. So again, it really tells what you should invest in. in terms of now that they are a mature brand, then obviously they should move from brand reputation and benchmarking to trend innovations, investing more in R&D, etc., etc. And finally, at the bottom, we have the LinkedIn Analytics. So essentially, again, for those that have this activated, you can directly connect your own pages, so your own brand's um, website. So essentially, whatever the company page is, to Digimind. So every time you have a post, you will be able to see it. So the publications in the orange little bubble, the number of interactions based off that, and then of course what your community. So if things like metrics like the number of followers you've gained in the last month is part of your reporting, this will be very, very useful for you. Now, a little bit of what I want to go through next is actually the DHS. So DHS historical search. You'll see on the top right, I'm just going to click on it and I think you guys should be able to see. So when that drops down, essentially when we think about DHS, use it as your Google. You can basically search out anything that you want to see. For today's demo, I'm just going to show you guys how you would use it. So I'm just going to put in Starbucks and it will bring you to historical search. All right, so it's moving. All right, okay, so this is historical search. Again, it's for historical data. On the top left, you can see 30 days, 2 years, depending on which package you're on at the moment. So if you are looking specifically at LinkedIn, what you would do is you will go into the filters on the right, and then you can see the media type. So it's very easy. Again, you can just toggle it on and off. So for today's demo, I'm looking at LinkedIn, so I will click on LinkedIn and it will automatically update. So you can see there is a trend line in terms of the number of posts or the number of people that are talking about every day. Similarly, how it works, there are key concepts. So what people are talking about, obviously coffee is a big one because it's Starbucks. Top hashtags that were used, again, quite similar to what we see in the dashboard before, because obviously I think Starbucks as a brand is a coffee brand, so that are recurring themes that you see a lot. So that's kind of the end of the presentation. I'm just going to jump back into the slides. Any questions specifically that I'm just going to look at the questions box. Okay, I see a question. It asks if one company is considered a query. So in that case, yes, one company page is considered one source. So essentially, you are able to connect depending on how many sources you have as part of the package. So for example, if you want to look at yourself, you want to look at 4 of your top competitors, there'll be 5 sources in total. So that's how we would count it. So one company page, etc. Similarly, it's how the keywords, hashtags, so each keyword essentially is one source, and that's how we would count it. And I think there was a question about DHS, whether you are only able to get. Okay, I see another question. Do we have to request LinkedIn to be added to our Digimind account? So yes, if you don't have it in your package, so your subscription, it is an add-on. So if you are interested, please reach out to your account manager, and then we can talk a little bit more about how we can have that in your platform. So LinkedIn, similar to TikTok, is considered a premium source. Yeah. I hope that answers your question, Trina. Then in that case, I think we are good for today. I'm just going to go to the next slide. Okay, awesome. So thank you so much again, everybody, for joining me this morning. Again, if you have any questions at all, here are my details. Please contact me if I'm your account manager. If not, it's Nina. And we can talk a little bit more about LinkedIn specific to your use case, so we can deep dive a little bit more, not just at a demo level. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. So thank you so much again for coming. Have a great week.